One of the major themes of Steel Ball Run is redemption, as every major character is fighting over a holy relic of sorts that can send their misfortune and sins away, giving them a physical embodiment of redemption to hunt after, but also in the sense that each major character is also willing to sacrifice something in order to fix their lives. And one of the best examples of this is the undercover nun turned racer, Hot Pants, and her stand, Cream Starter. Steel Ball Run has a pretty limited main cast, but I would say it's pretty fair to argue that Hot Pants is part of that main cast, given how many times that she's aided the Deuterogonists during the entire run, or the multitude of covers that she's appeared on. Though, I think it's actually kind of interesting that she's unlike most other main casts that we've seen in other JoJo parts, where she isn't really working for or with the main characters, but more working in favor of defeating the main antagonist. Though, before we can even talk about that, we should actually discuss the meaning behind her name. The name Hot Pants comes from the James Brown song Hot Pants, from the album Revolution of the Mind Live from the Apollo Volume 3. Also, he performed the song live along with Get Up, another one of his most popular hits, on the American TV series Soul Train, which found itself an actual cult following in Japan. So the song is actually a very energetic R&B beat, which Brown expresses his beauty and admiration towards the clothing wear Hot Pants, along with expressing that women should use it to get what they want, which led to its secondary name, She's Gotta Use What She's Got to Get What She Wants. This plays strongly into Hot Pants as a character. You see, she is always aggressively pursuing what she wants, willing to use any tactic to gain her an advantage. And you can see this in how strategic she is during battles, always wanting to be one step ahead of her opponents and constantly setting up traps for them. Or how quickly she's willing to strike deals with people who she has the absolute advantage over. Like when Johnny needed someone to heal Gyro and Hot Pants did it, but only after knocking both of them out and taking all their corpse parts, leaving Johnny with a single vertebrae so he could keep his ability, as Hot Pants isn't a monster. Or even so, when she teamed up with Diego, she promised him not only everything the president had, but information that Diego would find incredibly valuable, all for one factor, one thing that she needed him to maintain, and that's that she gets the corpse parts when it's over. And this is because Hot Pants, when she sets her mind to something, lets nothing stand in the way of her getting it. She will use whatever she's got to get what she wants. Along with all of that, the name Hot Pants actually contains a pretty funny pun in Japanese that plays into her cross-dressing nature, because you see, the pants part of Hot Pants' name can be pronounced the same as panties, or pantasu, which is a feminine form of underwear. Though to conflict with her feminine name, Hot Pants before the reveal uses mostly masculine Japanese when speaking, to try to maintain and trick the reader into thinking that she is a man. And alongside that, Hot Pants as a whole is actually based on cross-dressing characteristics, specifically on characters like Viola de Lesseps from Shakespeare in Love and Oscar from Rose of Versailles. Now, the reason Hot Pants takes on this disguise in the first place in the story or in universe is because she is a nun of the Catholic Church, who not only swear themselves to a life of devotion towards God, but live non-violent lives and are prohibited from being seen outside of their nun uniform. So, when Hot Pants is sent to enter the race, she takes on a whole new identity as the male racer Hot Pants to avoid tarnishing her nun name. In fact, it's actually very likely that Hot Pants isn't actually her real name. And while I'm talking about the cross-dressing thing, I should actually mention this. No, Hot Pants did not falsify her gender so she could enter the Steel Ball Run race. The race itself was open up to all people, no matter race, gender, or nationality. Anyone could enter, as long as they had a horse and the entry fee, they could race.
As long as the participant is age 16 years or older, nationality, race, sex, pro and amateur status will not be questioned. A participation fee is necessary and is $1,200 per person.
But luckily I don't actually need to inform too many people, as a lot more people are actually reading Steel Ball Run now instead of just secondarying it and talking out their ass. But I thought it would be good to at least mention it, get it out there, and move on, just for those people who didn't know. Now, what is it that Hot Pants actually wants if the song that her name is based on is all about a person giving it all to get what they want? Well, that is, of course, just like everyone else in Steel Ball Run, the corpse parts. though actually for two conflicting reasons. The first being, of course, that she's an agent of the Kingdom of Naples, and it was sent to investigate the race when they found out that Jesus' body is scattered all over America. Good job, Mormons, you called it. Then, Hot Pants learns who the corpse belongs to, and that's when she becomes actually motivated to aggressively collect. But this time, it's not for the church, because the church only sent her there to investigate and do a job. Now that she knows for sure who the body belongs to, she's now seeking redemption. Redemption from the sin that led her down the path of becoming a nun. Redemption from the sin that haunts her very soul, and that sin being when her and her brother were pinned in the woods by an aggressive grizzly bear, she made a panicked decision and pushed her brother into the bear's reach, sacrificing him so the bear would feed its stomach and leave. That way she would walk away with some scars, but she would be safe. This ultimately scarred Hot Pants to her very core, and that is likely the reason why her stand, Cream Starter, works the way it does. So Cream Starter is a tool stand which takes the form of an aerosol can, specifically based on a can of shaving foam. So much so that Araki has said in the past that the noise it makes when it's in use is exactly the same. It also appears to carry the same weight as a handgun or revolver, as Hot Pants twirls it around the same as a revolver, along with her using it to pistol whip Johnny. Now, stats wise, it has a D in destructive power, C in speed, C in range, A in durability, E in precision, and B in developmental potential. Now, Cream Starter has two major abilities, the first being Cream Spray. Cream Spray allows Cream Starter to spray out a fleshy-like creamy substance. This substance allows Hot Pants to manipulate her flesh or the flesh of anyone she touches with the creamy substance to do seemingly impossible things, be it stretch out their limbs like an unzipped sticky finger limb, or fold part of their body through impossibly tight-knit spaces, or flash rot pieces of the body separating them, or the exact opposite and completely healing, removing, or manipulating the body. She can also produce a disguise that is skin tight and easily removed. As Araki said in the JoJo Veller, the basic idea for Cream Starter is that it's supposed to be a can that you can spray and make anything come out. Now, it appears that Cream Starter actually has a starting amount of cream inside of it from the get-go. As shown when Hot Pants or other people use Cream Starter, it doesn't begin to steal their flesh right away. I assume the supply is actually refilled every time Hot Pants resummons her stand, but if Hot Pants ever needs to use cream beyond the limits of Cream Starter's starting cream, then the second ability activates, this being Borrowed Flesh. And what Borrowed Flesh does is it allows Hot Pants to convert her own flesh, or the flesh of those she's physically come in contact with, into the creamy substance that she's shooting, which greatly increases her spray's range and the amount that she can actually use. Though as long as the flesh isn't destroyed, she can actually return all of the borrowed flesh back to the host after dismissing her ability. And one final interesting detail about Cream Starter before we actually get into its musical reference is that unlike any other stand in the entirety of JoJo, it can be used by anyone who gets their hands on it. And I mean anyone. No matter the distance from Hot Pants, even if Hot Pants is in a different fucking dimension, it doesn't matter. As long as you have your hands on her Cream Starter, you can use it. Now, Cream Starter gets its name from the song Firestarter by The Prodigy, an electronic dance beat written by Kent Flint. A song written sort of as a pun on Flint's last name, as Flint is a tool used to start fires, and Flint wanted this song to be the fire that started the success for him and his band. The song itself is basically all about that desire as well, constantly repeating, "I am the fire starter," or the person who will instigate change in some way. Someone who will go out and do things to metaphorically get the fire started. Which, as I mentioned with Hot Pants' character already, that doesn't exactly sound too far off from how she's used in the story. But I believe there to be another set of connections between Hot Pants and Firestarter. And you see, this is actually based off of two different facts. One, a very obvious one, and that being hot and fire being very similar terms. Which, yes, I know, very simple, but if I didn't point it out, someone would. But the second is actually more deep into her character, and that being Hot Pants' disconnect from her stand. You see, Hot Pants' whole character musically is based off of one person, James Brown. You see this in her name and her horse's name, as Hot Pants and Get Up, SS Brown are all based off of James Brown, the soul musician, where her stand comes from something completely different from a very different genre. We're talking about the difference of EDM punk music and soul music, which give off very opposite vibes, which, given that her stand is basically a tool that can be used by anyone, that kind of makes sense. And this disconnect from her stand harkens back to her sin, because you see, in JoJo, it's actually pretty clear that tragedy can reshape someone's soul. I mean, that's exactly how colony stands are formed. As an attempt to reshape missing bits in the soul soul divides and breaks apart into multiple stand beings. But Hot Pants went straight past the colony stand stage of stand creation, and her soul just ended up becoming an object. Not a stand object, mind you, like Beach Boys or the Emperor, but an actual physical object, one that can be stolen or used against her. Basically, it became a literal burden for Hot Pants to carry. But not only that, Cream Starter is also an embodiment of her sin, shown by the fact that the only way to use it effectively and not be limited by its own fuel source, Hot Pants must sacrifice parts of herself or others to fuel it, just like she sacrificed her brother to save her life. Now, there's something else I noticed about Cream Starter and Hot Pants that I'd actually like to go into, but I'll save it for a different video, and it might actually explain why there's such a solid disconnect between the two. But that's more of a theory right now, and I'll save it for that later video. But all I'll say regarding it here is Wikipepo and Zombie Horse. Now, Hot Pants, like most characters in Steel Ball Run, is very well handled throughout the whole of the part. She never really even has a bad moment, and a lot of her fights are very quick-witted, and she has a very solid win-loss ratio, and to top it all off with a well-written motive, makes Hot Pants one character to be remembered. Basically, what I'm getting at is that Hot Pants ends up being sort of the Lisa of Steel Ball Run. Yes, I know that there's actually a Lisa in Steel Ball Run, but that doesn't come till much later, and what I mean is character-wise, not specifically actually Lisa. She ends up being sort of the character that Lisa should have been, but we never got in the original part 2. Now, if you enjoyed this video and would like to see more videos like it in the future, I have a Patreon at patreon.com/ManyNotTheBadGuy. And if you want to experience the hotness of no pants, well then you should buy a copy of Sheemnut at Funimation.com/show/Sheemnut. A boring world of concentrated jokes doesn't exist, and you'll get yourself a pair of hot pants with your own cream starter, and you'll cream right over everything.